You're not Dylan. The guy in the front passenger seat twisted around slowly, one hand wrapped around a paper coffee cup, his eyes locked on mine like he'd just caught me breaking into his house. My stomach dropped. The black SUV was already moving. Fast. Downtown Nashville was disappearing behind us, and 5 complete strangers were staring at me. I looked at the man beside me, then at the cooler between our feet, then at the matching black shirts everyone was wearing. Connor's last ride. Oh no. I'm Ethan, I managed. The driver glanced at me through the mirror. Yeah, we know. Dylan's friend Ethan. Everyone relaxed like that solved something. Everyone except the guy in front. He kept watching me. Calm. Quiet. Way too observant. I should have told them right then. I should have laughed, asked them to turn around, and admitted I'd climbed into the wrong bachelor trip bin outside the hotel. Instead, my phone died in my hand. The screen went black. Perfect. Long night, someone across from me asked. He had a backward baseball cap and the kind of energy that made silence impossible. You look terrified. Just tired. My voice sounded thin. He's nervous because he doesn't know us yet, the groom said from the second row. Connor, apparently. He leaned over and punched my shoulder lightly. Relax, man. By tonight, you'll regret meeting all of us. Everyone laughed. I did too. Too late. Too fake. The guy in front noticed. Of course he did. He turned back around, but not before his eyes dropped briefly to the dead phone in my hand. I told myself I could fix this at the next stop. Get a charger. Call my cousin. Find out where my actual group was. Maybe this would become a stupid story I told for years. 10 minutes later, the guys started arguing about music. Someone opened a bag of beef jerky. Connor tried to explain 3 different inside jokes at once. I sat there nodding like I belonged, even though every question felt dangerous. So how'd you meet Connor? The guy with the cap asked. My chest tightened. College. Connor looked back. Wait, what? My heart stopped. Then he laughed. Oh, right. Through Dylan. Yeah. I grabbed the answer too quickly. Through Dylan. The stranger in front shifted slightly. I could see part of his face in the side mirror now. Dark hair. Strong jaw. Eyes that didn't miss much. He was handsome in an annoying, unfair way. Not flashy. Just steady. The kind of man who made you feel more nervous by staying quiet. At the first gas station, everyone piled out. I stayed near the car, pretending to search my bag for a charger. Need this. A hand appeared beside me holding a cable. I looked up. It was him. Up close, he was taller than I expected. Broad shoulders under a faded gray hoodie. Tired eyes. Careful expression. Thanks. Our fingers brushed when I took it. Barely a second. Still, something pulled tight in my chest. Stress. Obviously. Nothing else. He leaned against the SUV while I plugged in my phone. Mason. Ethan. I know. His mouth moved like he almost smiled. Then his gaze settled on me again. Not rude. Just direct. Remind me how you know Connor? The parking lot noise seemed to fade. My phone screen lit up between us. 12 missed calls from my cousin. Mason glanced down, then back at me. For a second, neither of us spoke. You're not supposed to be on this trip, are you? That depends, I muttered, keeping my eyes on the phone. How bad is it if I say no? Mason did not laugh. He glanced toward the convenience store, where the others were arguing over snacks, then stepped closer so no one could hear us. Pretty bad for you. Very funny for the rest of us. My face burned. I got into the wrong SUV outside the hotel. I figured. You figured. Connor has been trying to remember who you are for the last 40 miles. I covered my face with one hand. Please tell me you are joking. I wish I was. My phone finally powered on. 12 missed calls. 6 messages. The newest one from my cousin read. Where are you? We left an hour ago. I stared at it until the words blurred. Mason leaned slightly closer, his shoulder brushing mine as he looked at the screen. It was probably accidental. There was plenty of room beside us, but I told myself that did not matter. Your actual trip leave without you? His voice softened. Looks like it. I called my cousin. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. Great. I let my head fall back against the SUV. This is officially the dumbest thing I have ever done. Mason studied me for a second. Not even close. You do not know me. Exactly. I am leaving room for worse. That got a laugh out of me before I could stop it. Small. Embarrassed. Real. His expression changed when he heard it, like he had been waiting to see whether I could relax. Then he reached past me and opened the back door. His arm passed close enough that I caught the clean scent of soap and coffee. My chest tightened again. Stress. Still stress. Come on. Where? Inside. You look like you are about to pass out. At the counter, Mason ordered another coffee. He did not ask what I wanted. He just handed me one with a little cream and no sugar, exactly how I had ordered it before we left Nashville. I looked down at the cup. How did you know? He shrugged, but his eyes stayed on mine. You complained when Connor tried to put sugar in yours. That was almost an hour ago. I remember things. The answer was simple. It still landed somewhere uncomfortable. Nobody usually remembered small things about me that quickly. I took a sip to avoid saying something stupid. Mason leaned against the counter beside me. So what now? I find a bus. Or rent a car. Or disappear into the woods. The woods are 3 hours away. Good. More time to rethink my choices. His mouth finally curved. It was not a full smile, but it made him look less guarded. More dangerous, somehow. The others started heading back outside. Connor waved through the window. You two coming? Mason looked at me. You can tell them now. My stomach dropped again. Or I keep quiet until you figure out what you are doing. I searched his face. Why would you do that? For a moment, he did not answer. His gaze moved over me slowly, not in a way that felt rude. More like he was trying to read something I had not said. Because you look more scared than dangerous. He pushed away from the counter and held the door open. As I passed, his hand touched the middle of my back. Light. Brief. Completely unnecessary. I will not say anything, he murmured. Then, after a pause, not yet. By the time we reached the rental house outside Nashville, I had convinced myself I could survive one night, leave quietly in the morning, and never think about any of them again. Then Connor opened the front door and yelled, "There are only 4 bedrooms." The place exploded into complaints. Bags hit the floor. Someone claimed the room with the balcony. Someone else threatened to sleep in the bathtub. I stayed near the entrance with my backpack still on, trying to look invisible. Ethan can bunk with Mason, the guy in the baseball cap announced. They are already having private coffee dates. A few of them laughed. I forced one out too. Mason did not. He looked at me across the room, and for one strange second, the joke just sat there between us. Too quiet. Too real. Then he picked up my suitcase before I could reach it. Come on. I can carry that. I know. He kept walking upstairs anyway. Our room was at the end of the hall. 2 narrow beds, 1 window, 1 lamp, and barely enough space to open both suitcases. It should have felt safe. Separate beds. Separate sides. Problem solved. Mason set my bag down and pressed a hand against the nearest mattress. The wooden frame gave a loud crack and dropped sideways. We both stared at it. You have got to be kidding me. I crouched to inspect the damage. Maybe we can fix it. Mason lifted one broken support beam, then let it fall. Unless you packed power tools for your accidental kidnapping, probably not. I laughed, but my pulse had already started climbing. The remaining bed was wider than the broken one. Not huge. Definitely not wide enough to pretend sharing it would feel normal. I will take the couch, Mason offered. No, the answer came too fast. He looked at me. I cleared my throat. I mean, this is your trip. I am the stranger who got into the wrong car. You are not sleeping on the floor. I have done worse. That is not the convincing argument you think it is. Voices moved through the hallway outside. Someone shouted about finding a liquor store. Someone else knocked once, opened the door without waiting, and looked between us. Oh good. 1 bed. This trip just got interesting. He disappeared before I could respond. Heat climbed up my neck. Mason shut the door and leaned against it. Ignore Tyler. Easy for you. Why? His eyes stayed on mine. Because nobody is going to assume you are nervous about sharing a bed with me. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Mason went still. My stomach dropped. I looked away first. Forget it. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he crossed the room and pulled an extra blanket from the closet. We can make a wall. A wall. Pillows. Blanket. International border. His mouth curved slightly. I promised not to invade. It should have made things less awkward. Somehow, it did the opposite. That night, after everyone finally went quiet, I lay on the far edge of the mattress with my back to him. The blanket wall had collapsed within 5 minutes. I could feel the warmth of his shoulder behind me, close but not touching. Ethan, his voice came softly through the dark. Yeah. Why did you stay? I stared at the wall. I did not have anywhere else to go. A pause. Then the mattress shifted, and his hand brushed mine between us. Neither of us pulled away. That is not what I meant. His fingers were still touching mine. Barely. Just the side of his hand against my knuckles, warm in the dark. I should have moved. I did not. What did you mean? My voice came out quieter than I wanted. Mason shifted onto his back. The mattress dipped, pulling me a little closer despite the space I was trying to keep between us. You could have called a rideshare. Found a hotel. Told Connor the truth. My phone was dead. It is not dead now. That shut me up. He was right. I had charged it hours ago. I could have left before dinner. I could have called my cousin, explained everything, and accepted the humiliation. Instead, I had eaten barbecue with strangers, laughed at Tyler's terrible jokes, and followed Mason upstairs like staying had been the obvious choice. Maybe I was tired. I offered. Maybe. His thumb moved once against my hand. So small I almost convinced myself I imagined it. My heart started pounding anyway. Or maybe you wanted to stay. I turned carefully. Mason was already facing me. The room was dark, but there was enough light from the hallway slipping under the door to catch the outline of his face. He was closer than I expected. Close enough that I could feel his breath when he spoke. You always ask questions like that? Only when someone keeps giving me half answers. You barely know me. I know you laugh when you are nervous. His eyes dropped briefly to my mouth, then lifted again. I know you apologize every time you take up space. And I know you have looked at the door 3 times since we came in, but you are still here. My chest tightened. Nobody was supposed to notice things like that. Not this quickly. You make me sound pathetic. His expression changed. Softer. That is not what I meant. Then what did you mean? For a second, neither of us moved. Mason's hand shifted between us until his fingers rested over mine instead of beside them. Not holding. Not exactly. Just there. My breath caught. He stopped. His eyes stayed on mine, and the silence stretched until it felt like something physical. I could have closed the distance. 1 inch, maybe 2. The thought hit me so clearly that panic rushed through my body. This was ridiculous. He was being kind, curious, maybe protective. That was all. I started to pull my hand away. Mason's fingers closed gently around it. Ethan. The way he said my name made me freeze. What? He leaned in slightly. Not enough to touch me. Enough that every nerve in my body woke up. His gaze moved over my face like he was waiting for permission neither of us knew how to give. Then someone slammed into the door from the hallway. Mason. Connor found the whiskey. Tyler's voice came through the wood. We broke apart so fast the mattress shook. Mason sat up, dragging a hand through his hair. Give us a minute. Silence outside. Then Tyler laughed. Us. Footsteps moved away before either of us could answer. I stared at the ceiling, my pulse refusing to slow down. Mason stayed sitting on the edge of the bed. He is going to be annoying about that. He is already annoying. That got a quiet laugh from him. Then he looked back at me. The same question was still there between us. He opened his mouth, hesitated, and stood instead. Come downstairs. I nodded, even though disappointment had already settled heavily in my chest. At the door, Mason paused with his hand on the knob. For what it is worth, he glanced over his shoulder. I am glad you stayed. Downstairs, Tyler noticed us immediately. Of course he did. He was sitting on the kitchen counter with a plastic cup in one hand, wearing the kind of grin that made me want to turn around and go back upstairs. There they are. He pointed between us. Room service take a while? Connor looked over from the dining table. What does that even mean? Nothing. Mason walked past him and reached for a bottle of water. Tyler is bored. Tyler is observant. Tyler's eyes moved to me. Ethan looks like he just got caught doing something. My face warmed so fast it was embarrassing. I grabbed the nearest empty cup just to have something to do with my hands. I was sleeping. Sure. Mason set the water bottle in front of me before getting one for himself. It was a tiny thing. Probably automatic. Tyler still noticed. His eyebrows lifted. Mason noticed him noticing and stepped away from the counter. That small retreat should not have bothered me. It did. The group started a drinking game 10 minutes later. I tried to stay out of it, but Connor insisted bachelor trips had rules. Apparently one of those rules was that nobody got to be quiet. Questions went around the room. Worst first date. Most embarrassing text. Person most likely to disappear before breakfast. Everyone pointed at me for that one. I laughed because they were not wrong. Then Tyler pulled a card and read it aloud. Have you ever had feelings for someone in your friend group? The room filled with groans and jokes. Connor threw a pretzel at him. That is not even a bachelor party question. Answer it. Tyler looked at Mason first. Mason took a slow drink and shook his head. Pass. Coward. Then Tyler turned to me. What about mystery guest? Every eye in the room landed on me. My chest tightened. I could feel Mason watching from the other end of the couch. Once, I admitted. Did they know? Connor leaned forward, suddenly invested. No, girl or guy? Tyler asked it casually. Too casually. The room went quieter. Not completely. Just enough. I stared at the label on my bottle. Does it matter? Tyler's grin faded a little. No. Just asking. Then do not. Mason's voice cut across the room. Calm, but sharper than before. Everyone looked at him. He leaned back like he had not just changed the temperature in the room. He does not owe us his entire dating history because he got into the wrong car. Connor raised both hands. Fair. The game moved on, but the mood did not fully recover. Mason barely looked at me after that. He answered questions with short jokes, kept his attention on Connor, and left more space between us than he had all day. I told myself it was because Tyler had made things awkward. That was all. Still, when I got up for air, disappointment followed me outside. The back porch was cold and quiet. I rested my hands on the railing and tried to breathe normally. The door opened behind me a minute later. Mason stepped out, closing it carefully. You okay? You do not have to keep rescuing me. His expression tightened. I was not rescuing you. Then what was that? He looked through the glass door at the others, then back at me. Tyler does not know when to stop. And you do? That landed harder than I meant it to. Mason went still. For a second, I thought he might walk away. Instead, he moved closer. Not touching. Close enough that my pulse jumped anyway. Do you want me to stop? The question took all the air out of my lungs. His eyes held mine, waiting. I could hear laughter inside. Someone called Mason's name. Neither of us moved. I do not know, I whispered. His jaw tightened, almost like that answer hurt. Then he nodded once and stepped back. Figure it out. He reached for the door, but paused before going inside. Because I am trying very hard not to make this harder for you. The next morning, Mason acted normal. That was almost worse. He drank coffee with Connor, argued with Tyler about directions, and barely looked at me while everyone packed for the hike. I told myself I should be relieved. I had asked for space without actually asking for it. This was what space looked like. It felt terrible. The trail started easy, then climbed into the hills outside the city. Everyone spread out after the first mile. Connor and Tyler stayed ahead, shouting at each other over the map. I slowed down without meaning to. Mason slowed down too. Neither of us mentioned it. For 20 minutes, we walked side by side with just enough distance between us to feel intentional. Then the rain started. Not heavy at first, just cold drops hitting the leaves. Within minutes, it was pouring. The others ran toward a covered picnic area farther down the trail. Mason grabbed my wrist before I stepped onto a slick patch of rock. Careful. His grip stayed there after I found my balance. Warm. Firm. Familiar in a way it had no right to be. I looked down at his hand. He let go immediately. Sorry. You keep doing that. He frowned. Doing what? Touching me like it means something. Then acting like it does not. The words came out before I could stop them. Rain ran down his face and darkened his hoodie. He stared at me, chest rising faster from the climb. Or maybe not from the climb. You told me you did not know what you wanted. I still do not. Then what am I supposed to do? There it was. Not annoyance. Not pity. Something rawer. He looked away, jaw tight, like he regretted letting me hear it. We ducked beneath the roof of a small trail shelter. The others were gone from sight. For once, there was nobody around to turn it into a joke. Mason stood across from me, water dripping from his sleeves. Last night, I started. When you asked if I wanted you to stop, you did not answer. I panicked. His eyes lifted to mine. I noticed. Because this does not make sense. Why? You do not know me. I know enough. He stepped closer. Not all the way. Just enough to make my heartbeat stumble. I know you pretend everything is fine when it is not. I know you keep looking at me and then looking away. I know you almost left yesterday, and I hated the idea more than I should have. My mouth went dry. Mason dragged a hand through his wet hair, frustrated with himself. I am confused too, Ethan. The rain hammered the roof above us. This is not normal for me. What is this? I barely got the words out. His gaze held mine. Longer than before. No joke waiting behind it. No easy exit. I do not know yet. He took another step, close enough that our shoes nearly touched. But I do not want to go back to pretending nothing is happening. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. So last night, I was not just being nice. His voice dropped, and I did not pull away because I wanted to. For a second, neither of us moved. His hand lifted like he was going to touch my face, then stopped halfway. He gave me the choice. I leaned into his palm before I could think better of it. Mason exhaled sharply. His thumb brushed once across my cheek. Tell me to stop. I looked at him, at the fear he was trying to hide, and finally understood I was not the only one losing control. I do not want you to. For 1 second, I thought Mason was going to kiss me. His hand was still against my cheek. My body had already leaned toward him. Then Connor's voice carried through the rain. You guys alive back there? Mason dropped his hand. Fast. Too fast. Yeah, he called, stepping away from me. Coming. The space between us returned, so suddenly it felt like I had imagined everything. We caught up with the group near the trailhead. Tyler looked from Mason to me, then at Mason's wet sleeve. You two get lost? Trail was slick. Mason kept walking. He did not look at me. That should not have hurt. We had been standing inches apart less than 5 minutes ago. Now he was acting like nothing happened. I told myself he was protecting us from questions. I told myself he needed time. By the time we got back to the house, I had told myself so many things that none of them sounded true anymore. Mason disappeared upstairs to change. I stayed in the kitchen with Connor, drying my hair with a dish towel because nobody could find the clean ones. You and Mason okay? Connor opened the refrigerator and stared inside. My chest tightened. Why would we not be? He gets quiet when something is bothering him. Connor glanced at me. And he has been weird since you showed up. I forced a laugh. Maybe he does not like strangers joining his vacation. That is not it. Connor shut the refrigerator. Mason does not let people close. He definitely does not chase them through rainstorms. My pulse jumped. He was making sure I did not break my neck. Connor watched me for another second, then shrugged. Sure. Mason came downstairs before I could ask what that meant. His hair was damp. He had changed into a dark t-shirt, and his expression was unreadable. Can we talk? He murmured. My stomach dropped. I followed him into the laundry room off the kitchen. It was barely bigger than a closet. The door clicked shut behind us, cutting off the others' voices. Forced proximity again. Apparently, the universe had a sense of humor. Mason folded his arms. About what happened, there it was. Regret. I felt it before he finished. You do not have to explain. Ethan. It was raining. We were alone. Everything felt intense. I looked anywhere but at him. I get it. His brow furrowed. Get what? That you changed your mind. The room went quiet. Mason stared at me like I had said something ridiculous. I did not change my mind. You could barely look at me after. Because Connor was watching us. So. His jaw tightened. So this is his bachelor trip. Half these guys have known me since high school. I do not even know what I would tell them. The answer hit harder than I expected. Not because it was cruel. Because it made sense. You would not have to tell them anything. That is not what I meant. It sounded like it. I reached for the door. Mason moved first, planting his hand against it. Not trapping me. Just asking me not to leave without saying it. I am not ashamed of you. You do not know me well enough to be ashamed of me. Stop doing that. His voice sharpened. Doing what? Deciding what I feel before I get to say it. My hand dropped from the knob. Mason looked down, breathing slowly. I am scared because I do not know what this is. I am scared because I do not usually feel this way. And I am scared because when we go home, you can disappear like this trip never happened. That left me completely still. His eyes found mine again. But I am not regretting it. A knock hit the door. Tyler's voice came through. Why are you both hiding in the laundry room? Mason closed his eyes. I almost laughed. Almost. Then Connor called from the kitchen. Ethan, your phone has been ringing. My stomach tightened. When I opened the door, Connor was holding it out to me. The name on the screen was Dylan. The Real guest Mason had been covering for. Mason saw it too. And judging by his face, whatever time we had left had just run out. Connor held my phone out like it might explode. Dylan says he just got to Nashville. Nobody laughed. Tyler looked at me. Then at Mason. Then back at me. Okay, he muttered. That feels important. My throat went dry. I took the phone and answered. Dylan's voice came through loud enough for the room to hear. Ethan, where are you? Your cousin has been losing his mind. I closed my eyes. I am not with them. What do you mean? I got into the wrong car. Silence. Then, you did what? Connor slowly lowered his drink. One of the guys near the couch whispered, No way. I ended the call as quickly as I could and looked around the room. I can explain. Tyler let out one sharp laugh. You are not Dylan's friend. No, You do not know Connor. Not before today. Connor's face tightened. So you just stayed? The question landed harder than it should have. I tried to leave. But you did not. I looked at Mason. He was standing near the laundry room door, completely still. I know. Connor rubbed both hands over his face. This is insane. I am sorry. My voice cracked on the last word. I hated that. I panicked. Then my phone died. Then everything got harder to explain. Harder than pretending to know all of us. Tyler asked. Mason finally moved. Enough. Connor turned toward him. You knew? Another silence. Mason's jaw tightened. Since the gas station. The room shifted. I could feel it. You covered for him? Connor looked more hurt than angry now. Mason glanced at me, then back at Connor. He was stranded. That is not an answer. It is mine. Nobody spoke after that. I picked up my bag from beside the stairs. I should go. Mason's head snapped toward me. Ethan, do not. I kept my eyes on the zipper because looking at him felt dangerous. You do not have to fix this too. I am not trying to fix it. Then what are you doing? That stopped him. Everyone was still there, but suddenly it felt like just us. Mason crossed the room slowly, trying to keep you from running before I get to say anything. My fingers tightened around the bag strap. You had plenty of chances. Not with 5 people watching. They are watching now. I know. He came closer anyway. Connor looked away first. Tyler went quiet. Mason stopped in front of me, close enough that I could see the tension in his face. I knew you were not supposed to be here, he said. I stayed quiet because you looked like you had nowhere else to go. My chest tightened. That sounds like pity. It was at first. The honesty stung. Mason saw it. His hand lifted, then dropped before touching me. Then it was not. I looked up. He did not look away. I remembered your coffee because I wanted to. I followed you outside because I wanted to. I got jealous at the bar. A breath. I almost kissed you in that shelter, and I have been thinking about it ever since. The room disappeared around us. Mason, no, his voice softened. You keep deciding this is one-sided because it is easier than believing me. My eyes burned. Not tears. Just too much adrenaline. And what happens when this trip ends? He took my hand. Right there. In front of everyone. His grip was warm and steady. That is what I am trying to figure out. I looked down at our hands. Then back at him. You are really doing this now? I am tired of pretending nothing happened. Nobody made a joke. Nobody moved. Mason's thumb brushed once over my knuckles. Stay long enough to let me say it right. I stayed. Not because Connor looked less angry after a few minutes. Not because Tyler finally stopped asking questions. I stayed because Mason never let go of my hand. His grip loosened once, like he was giving me the chance to pull away. I did not. Connor exhaled and looked between us. This is officially the strangest bachelor trip I have ever been on. Tyler leaned against the counter. You have only been on 2. Still counts. A few nervous laughs moved through the room. The tension did not disappear, but it cracked enough for everyone to breathe again. I apologized properly. No excuses. No pretending I had planned any of it. Connor listened, then shook his head. You should have told us. I know. But you also bought breakfast for everyone. Tyler lifted one finger. That helped. Connor rolled his eyes, then looked at Mason. You and I are talking later. Fair. Mason's thumb moved over my knuckles again. Small. Steady. He did not hide it. That mattered more than I knew how to explain. The rest of the night was quieter. Nobody forced another drinking game. Nobody asked me to tell the story again. We ordered pizza, put on a terrible action movie, and slowly found our way back to something normal. Except Mason sat beside me on the couch. Not across the room. Not with a careful gap between us. Beside me. His knee rested against mine. When Tyler noticed, he opened his mouth. Mason gave him one look. Tyler reached for another slice of pizza instead. Later, when everyone started heading upstairs, I paused at the bottom step. Are we still sharing the room? Mason looked at me. Do you want to? There was no pressure in his voice. No joke. Just a real question. Yeah. The answer felt easier this time. Upstairs, the broken bed frame was still leaning against the wall. The pillow border was still collapsed in the middle of the mattress. Mason picked up one of the pillows and held it between us. Should we rebuild international relations? I laughed. I think the border failed. Tragic. He tossed the pillow onto the floor. We lay down facing each other, close enough to talk without raising our voices. For a while, neither of us did. The silence felt different now. Not empty. Not dangerous. Just honest. What happens tomorrow? I finally asked. Mason stared at our hands resting between us. You go home. My chest tightened. He noticed. And I get your number. You already have it. Then I use it. His mouth curved slightly. A lot. That is your plan. I am working with limited preparation. I smiled despite myself. What about Connor? Your friends. Mason glanced toward the door, then back at me. They will adjust. And if they do not, his fingers closed around mine. Then they will have to be uncomfortable for a while. The simplicity of it hit me harder than any speech could have. In the morning, the group packed the SUV in sleepy silence. Connor handed me a coffee without asking. Tyler complained that I had ruined his seating chart. When I opened the back door, Mason was already there. He moved his bag and patted the seat beside him. In front of everyone. No hesitation. I sat down. Our shoulders touched as the car pulled onto the highway. After a few miles, his hand found mine between us. He did not look over. He did not make it dramatic. He just laced his fingers through mine and kept them there. I looked out the window at Nashville fading behind us and thought about how badly I had wanted to avoid being embarrassed, exposed, or unwanted. Instead, I had climbed into the wrong car and ended up beside the first person who made staying feel braver than leaving. Mason squeezed my hand once. You okay? I looked at him. Yeah. This time, I meant it. I had spent the whole trip pretending I belonged there. By the end, I did.